guys, hello. Karibuni sana. Welcome back to Stories of God's Faithfulness. We welcome you to our channel today. Leo ni kumoto. Sijui kama uliwatch video ya last week. Ilikuwa moto sana. And today it's getting hotter. So, last week we talked about is marriage a scam. And Mom was just telling us, her experience on marriage, how it was for her, dating, courting, engagement, and marriage. And it was very, very interesting. So if you haven't watched, please just go back and watch. It's the video we just did last week. And we promised today we are doing a part 2 because it was too hot to handle. We couldn't finish that video last week.
Yeah.
And so today we are finishing. And I remember very well kwenye tuliachia. We had said, okay, first of all, we said, we are going to finish this tomorrow, next week, because it is too hot. We can't
Yes.
finish today. And we left at a point where we were saying, we are talking about discernment. Discerning if the person that you're dating or discerning if the person that you're engaged to is the right person for you for marriage. And so, marriage siku hizi ni kunoma. And that's why this title is marriage a scam, because ni kunoma sana. And we've had people saying, hey, marriage is a scam, and nowadays marriage can't work. Even people just deciding that they will never get married.
Yeah.
And of course, not because they have chosen a life of celibacy, because you can choose if you want to be celibate, but maybe because of the frustrations, of dating and all that. And so Mom is continuing this video today. She'll be telling us more about discernment, and she's going to speak from her experience, her personal and true experience. So, Mom, the floor is yours.
Thank you, my
Mhm.
daughter Evelyn. Thank you for even giving me a chance to talk about it and even to explain to guys about a marriage and whether it is a scam.
Yeah.
And it is actually my experience. I am not an expert. I am just talking out of my experience.
Mhm.
And as we continue sharing, I want to believe that you will learn something.
Yeah.
You will learn, what you need to do, what you don't need to do, through my experience.
Mhm.
So, guys, I had said that I was coming from high school and things were tough in my family after losing my mother. And I was the only breadwinner because all my siblings were in school. And so I was coming from a tough situation. And that's when I made a prayer.
Yeah.
And God heard my prayer and brought this guy who was a Christian.
Mhm.
And his approach was different because he told me, God showed me. And because I feared the Lord, I really did not want to say no to the Lord. And so I went and prayed, and I can say that there was not a breakthrough. I did not have a breakthrough in my prayer. I did not hear a yes, from God. And I realized that I was being rushed and I didn't have time for myself. So that brought to us thinking about how to discern, or was I able to discern, whether this was the right man,
Yeah.
whether this was the right guy. Remember, my connection with this man was through my elder sister, because she brought this guy to our home to come and visit. And that's where things started. That's where this guy left me his address, and the little or the short conversation we had with him, he seemed to be right, and he seemed to be knowing of what I am going through, and he had promised that he will take care of my siblings. And so I went into this relationship knowing that I said to myself, a savior has come to save me from all the troubles that I was going through. But I can tell you, along the way, I saw some signs. And those signs, I can say for sure, I was not able to discern.
Yeah.
Because the first thing that happened, the Lord did not give me a go ahead. And so I prayed, I fasted, remember our dating took 1 year and 6 months. Okay, I can say 1 year of dating and 6 months of now, going to the wedding, like the dowry preparation and everything.
Yeah.
All this time, I did not hear from God.
Mhm.
And I went into it because God has said, I was like a one-sided person because God has said from his side, not from my side.
Yeah.
And I remember one day, because I thought that I would be able to love this guy. Because, when somebody comes to you and tells you that I love you, this person, I had not known him before. We had not even made friendship with him. So it was like like a one thing, like kitu tu ili happen tu mara moja.
Mhm.
So we had not become friends fast. And so my love for him was not there. And I tried to figure out how I could love him, and the feeling was not there. And I remember one day telling him, you know what? I do not have any feelings for you.
You did?
Yes.
Mm.
I told him, we met, and I told him before things could go further. And he looked at me. He never spoke a word. He just turned his back and walked away. And I looked at him walking away, and I said, my goodness, what have I done? Maybe God will punish me for telling him, what I was feeling.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, he did not talk to me for 2 weeks. And I remember during the 2 weeks, he called my boss, and he told my boss, tell Anne, they used to call me Anne, tell Anne to pass by my place. And my boss tells me, I have received your call, or I have your message, and Mr.
So-and-so.
Peter,
Yes.
pseudonym, says that you pass by his house. And I didn't have a problem because I had already told my boss something is going on. And of course, he had refused. He had told me this is not the right man. And I had said, no, so long as you will not marry me,
Yeah.
I don't care what you say. Anyway, I was also, like kichwa ngumu. Because I really feared God, like somebody telling you God said, you really fear that. And I was very young in Christianity, in salvation, so to speak. So I passed by his home, his house, and what he told me is that I have called my parents, I have called my dad, and I have called my mother, and I want you to go and ask for permission so that we can travel home. And so when he said that, I said, okay, it's an opportunity to go and see his home.
His home.
And so I asked for permission, and we went, and the family, the mother and the father, well, he was coming from a polygamous family, and all the wives and co-wives were there. They were all excited, and I was treated well. And that made me, remember when I had said that I don't have the feelings. So that made me see, if the parents have welcomed me like this, then things may change along the way.
Mm.
But anyway, when we came back to Nairobi, many things were unfolding. And first of all, even as we were planning for dowry, the parents refused to come for the second time. So that was another sign that I could have discerned and asked myself, why did the parents refuse to come?
Mhm.
And if I enter into this marriage, what will happen? Marriage is not a rehearsal. Marriage is like, it's a lifetime thing. But I was young again, and I did not know about discernment.
Yeah.
And so I found myself, saying, it's okay, even if the parents did not come. My guy is telling me, don't worry about my parents. And he went ahead and then consulted the church, and the church elders were ready. And then there was another episode that happened. When the church elders came to my home, that was now the second time. After the negotiations and everything, and they even planned the day of the wedding, the elders of the church left him. they left him, and my home was very far away, and of course he had borrowed their vehicle, and they left him. And guess what? We walked back home, and it was very far away. I can tell you, it was very far away. And that is one of the reasons I think maybe his parents, when they came the first time, seeing how my home was, my grandmother's home was, it was in a deserted area, no vehicles, no nothing. The motorbikes were not there then. So people were walking. It was very far. It looked, it was very humble. Maybe they decided, no, this is not where we want our son to get away from.
Yeah.
And that's why I think they did not come for the second time.
Yeah.
When I look at those things, I can see they were, like I needed to discern. I needed to discern and count and see, these things are unfolding. And, first of all, I don't have feelings. I did not love him. I went to him because God said, according to what he told me. I never had God saying, and then when now I am okay, I'm talking about before marriage, discernment. And then of course that brought many things, because I found myself already in this marriage.
Yeah.
And then we do the wedding, and the first day of our wedding, when we were supposed to go to honeymoon, all vehicles disappear. And we don't have any vehicle left. And I found now we are walking to the honeymoon place. Oh my goodness.
God.
And guess what? The honeymoon place was just a distance away from his home. So it is a place where I used to see as I walked, people knew me there. And that was terrible for me. Like the first night after we got married, that really, it wasn't so good. And I wondered, oh my goodness, what is this? And then he says, we will spend, I think, 3 days there, and then we go back home. So it was actually walking from church. Do you have a question? Do you have a question? And there's something in your... Do you have a question you want to ask?
No.
So it was a walking distance, guys. So we walked from church to the place where we went for our evening party, and then from the evening party to the hotel, which was just a normal restaurant, and people were even, buying moturas there on the road. And we spent there 3 days, and then we walked home. And that was also a very bad experience for me. And I can say that was another sign that showed me there is something, there is something that is not right. And all these things are happening, and he is not even telling me. He is not communicating with me. So I don't actually know what is happening, And then he tells me that everything we have eaten in the wedding was on credit, and so all the money has gone to the credit. Anyway, guys, my life started in such a way, not very beautiful. I had already seen signs, but remember, I was not able to discern. I just continued, and then I asked my best mate. I asked her, because I don't love him, what will happen?
Yeah.
What will happen to this marriage? And then my best couple tells me, don't worry. When you get into this marriage, make sure you get a child. Maybe when you give birth to a child, that child will work as it will help your love to increase. Guess what, guys? That is exactly what I did. I went into that marriage. I didn't care about even bonding and even finding love with him first before I get a baby. I just decided, okay, that was the advice they gave me, so I will go with it.
Yeah.
And here comes me within a month, I was very pregnant.
No, you are not very pregnant.
I
You
was
had just conceived.
Oh, not very pregnant.
Very
Oh,
pregnant means that you're
Oh,
like
yeah.
8 months or 9
Oh
months.
yeah, I conceive,
Yeah.
and of course now life continues, and
Yeah.
well, I was happy, but I went through hell.
Mm.
Well, I could call it hell, because even during the time of conceiving, he was not ready for me to go to a clinic. At 7 months, I was feeling, sick, and I told him I want to go to the clinic, and he told me, no, you don't have to go to the clinic. Even the mothers in the village, they don't go to the clinic, and they deliver their children well. And so I had to, because of money issues, he didn't want to give me money to go to the clinic. So anyway, I had to ask my family member to help me with some money so that I can attend clinic. And that's how I attended my first clinic at 7 months. And then of course, I am now becoming very pregnant now. The pregnancy is showing, and I need to wear maternity dresses. And I tell him I want to buy maternity dressing and dresses. And then he says, mamama wa ushago hawavaangi, hizo nguo. Yani, I was just wondering, what kind of a man is this one, And so I had also to ask people for money to help me, so that I can go and buy some dresses. Yeah. But on the day that I went to buy these dresses, I remember I went to Gikomba market and he accompanied me. And when we went round and trying to see which dress is going to fit me, he was very tired. And he told me, I am going to leave you there, looking for dresses. And then I became angry, and I was wondering, why does he just want me to buy any dress? And remember, I'm working, so I had to be decent, So anyway, he was kind of threatening me. But well, he waited for me. I ended up buying only two dresses, and oh my God, it was a difficult life. And finally, I, at 9 months, I was ready to give birth, and go to the hospital, and he was not ready to give me any money, and he says that I should take a loan. And I take my loan, and instead of going to buy my baby's clothes, I give him the money. And he says, sitanunua, like I will not buy clothes, like I will wait until the baby is born. That time we didn't have this advanced technology of knowing the sex of the baby, and even if it was there, who could afford? I couldn't afford it. And so I didn't know. I had prayed to God that I needed a girl. And so we never bought clothes. He never bought clothes. I only had 2 sweaters that I had bought, without him knowing. And so my baby is born, Evelyn here, without clothes. And I remember I removed my sweater, my mom's sweater, and my mother's sweater, that I had, and that is what I used to wrap my baby, in Pumwani maternity. And he comes in the morning with nothing. He didn't come with any clothes. He came and found the baby. Of course, he was very happy. A baby was born. And then he goes and buys clothes and brings them in the afternoon. So, of course, my baby already had contracted pneumonia because of, sleeping the whole night with only a cardigan, and Pumwani, guys, what I'm talking about. So anyway, it was tough. But then he came with clothes, and a few clothes, and that's how I was able to have clothes for my baby. We go home, and things happen, and my baby becomes sick at 5 months. And we go to different hospitals, and she was not improving. And then we went to this clinic, and this doctor told me, if you don't know your baby is very sick, please lash this baby to Gertrude's hospital. And I did that, and by the mercies of God, in that hospital, they never asked me for any deposit. My baby was very sick. They took her. They started, wakaanza kumshughulikia, intravenous solutions, and so many things. And I remember she stayed in that hospital for 5 days. And then the 6th day, the doctor comes and says the baby is improving and now you can go home. But we
Yes.
needed to pay a lot of money.
Yeah.
Guys, my husband comes and I tell him, we need to clear the money. The baby is discharged. And my husband tells me, I don't have any money. And I asked him, what about the money that you put in the bank? Because he had told me he had money in the bank.
Yeah.
And he says that I used that money. So he tells me I need to call my boss, and I called my boss crying, and my boss came and cleared the bill for us. And that was another chapter, because yes, I was working, but because he cleared the bill, my boss said then you have to pay this bill, like you will not receive salary for the next several months. It was a lot of money.
Yeah.
So anyway, after several months, my boss decides, there's no need of cutting this money.
Yeah.
Cutting, oh God.
Yeah.
There is no need of that, because it's like I was paying the loan. So my salary then, it was about $45.
Yeah.
4,500. So he was removing 2,000 and giving me 2,500. And life was very difficult, and so I wasn't making ends meet. And then he decided not to do that. Maybe after several, I think it was after 6 months, he had, God just helped him to say, I'll be giving you your full salary, but he told me, I don't want you to, use the money, in the house with your husband. I want you to open an account.
Yeah.
And even if I open an account, it was not helping, because I would go and get this money to cater for the family. So you can see that it is a journey, not a very good journey that I went through. If only I had designed, in the beginning, before I get into all this mess, maybe I would be in a better place.
Yeah.
Maybe I would not have gone all this, all these things that happened in my life. Yeah. So I think, we don't want to extend. It's a lot that I can say, but we are talking about how can you design.
So in summary, just like in summary,
Yes.
The points you've just mentioned, like in just point form, before you get married.
Yes.
Based on your experience, what are those red flags that
Mhm.
were there but you did not see? Just points.
Just points.
Yeah.
Number one, God has spoken.
Yeah.
You need to discern, is it the real voice of God, or is it somebody just saying for the sake of saying, or just to be able to win you?
Yeah.
And have you heard the
from
same
God?
voice?
Yeah.
So if somebody tells you I've heard, you also need to hear. So if you haven't heard, then of course, if you decide to follow his voice, then you are making the wrong moves.
Next.
That's number one.
Yeah.
Number two, do you love him? Yes, he loves you, and he has communicated his love to you.
Yeah.
But do you love him? Do you have feelings for him? I did not. I did not. And I went there with so many, advices from other people, and the fact that he said God told me, that, confused me so much. Yeah. Yeah. Another one is how is he communicating? Is he communicating from the word go? Remember, we did a pre-wedding, and he said the money was stolen, so I did not see this money. And then we went home for a tea party. There was a tea party in my home, and my uncles were asking him for items to bring for the tea party. And then he said, if you are asking me all these things, then I don't want. I don't want it. And then my uncles asked him, you mean you don't want to you don't want to marry Hannah? And then he said yes. And then my uncles kind of came down and told him, okay, we are going to ask you for lesser items than what. So it's like they went his way.
Yeah.
Maybe my uncles would have said, okay, if then you will not bring these things, then we are not giving you our girl, but they came down and they went his way.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Any other
That was
thing?
another sign. And then the other sign was many people had told me, no, this is not the right man.
Yeah.
Apart from one person who said, yes, he is a born again Christian. I know him, and I have even visited his church, and it is someone that I trusted.
Yeah.
So I went with the thing like, God has spoken, and he is a nice man, he is a Christian.
Yeah.
So, the majority of the people had refused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Including my family and some of my friends in church. Yes.
Anything else?
I think now when I went into the marriage, you can also see the first night of our marriage, and there was no communication. Yes, money was given, but I never saw this money.
Yeah.
There were many debts. I did not know about those debts.
Yeah.
Communication. Like you need to communicate with your whatever you are doing, even if you are dating. There is need for communication, and both of you have to be on the same page.
Yeah.
On the same page.
Yeah.
Whatever you are discussing about.
Yeah. I think what I'm getting is, you see those red flags that you see like before you guys get married, and then if you don't sort them out, if you don't talk about them, then they will be evident in the marriage later. So before I'm not married, but I think I'm learning. Yes. Hello. First of all, I think a friend of mine once told me that, like, God will speak to you, and then he will use other people to confirm what he has already spoken. And so God will not speak to somebody else about you. He will speak to you first. And then the other people will just be, like sort of confirming, but God would have already made that connection with you. And so first listen to God. As Mom said, first listen to God. Allow God to speak to you. Like, you see, when a man proposes to you, you don't have to say yes at that time. You can tell him, okay, thank you. Okay, it also depends with if you've known the person before and all that. But if it's in this case, it was just like ili happen to haraka sana. It's good to tell that person, okay, let me pray about it, let me think about it, and then I will give you my answer once I am ready. And then you use this time to pray and to ask God if this is the person that God wants for you. In that sense, it may happen differently. In other cases where you've dated for so long, you are sure that this relationship is headed for marriage, then it's easier when at that moment when this person proposes, then it's sort of easier to like say yes because you know this person. But always remember, like, just pray to God and ask God to to help you to discern if this is the right person. And then you see, other people will just be confirming to you. You're not going to people for answers because God has already given you the answer. And if you see any red flag, before you guys get married, things to do with communication, things to do with character, do not go into that relationship or into that marriage before sorting things out. And there's one thing that I've had so many times, and I've read it for myself, like, you cannot change somebody. You na uwezo wako, you cannot change somebody. It is them to make a decision to change. Things to do with character, your values and whatever. You know how you say, I'll just get married to him, I will change him. Please do not lie to yourself. And the same vice versa, even for men towards women. He has to make the choice. If you see his character kuna mahali kuna tashwishi, kimbia. Na kama huta kimbia, talk about it, but don't, make sure by the time you're getting to that point where you're getting married, you are 100% sure that you really want to do this. But you can be sure that no one is perfect. Even if no one is perfect. And so before you get into marriage, the things, of course, it would be a perfect marriage, but are you willing to, just an example, I think we were having this discussion with you, like, let's say I have this man and maybe he's tall, but I don't like tall, men. And then, but he has a good heart. And then there's this other guy who is not like super tall. I like not super tall guys, but his character is faulty. So you're torn between who to choose. Will you go for the looks or will you go for
Yeah.
the person who has a good heart?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, you can compromise this height thing
Mhm.
because it won't add any value to you
Mhm.
to that relationship, or it is just physical appearance.
Mhm.
But would you rather date the tall person
Mhm.
and have a person with a good heart than date the medium average person, or the medium whatever height person,
Mhm.
but his character is faulty, if he's dishonest, if he doesn't have integrity?
Mhm.
And so there are some things that when you get into a marriage, you will have to compromise.
Yeah.
And those are the things that they don't really matter, but kuna zenye lazima they matter. Character
Yes.
matters.
Yes.
Your spirituality matters.
Yes.
Your values matter. Make
Mhm.
sure that before you get into that marriage,
Yes.
you guys have the same values,
Mhm.
because the point where you start your values are different, hapo ndio mashida huanzia. And
Yes.
many people end up getting divorces because they don't have the same
Yes.
values.
Yes.
You need to have the same values of
Yes.
life.
Yes.
And so talk about everything.
Yes.
I recently read a post. Yeah, I recently read a post on Instagram, and it says, or basically it's summarizing, before you get married, talk about everything. Talk about parenting, talk about children, talk about finances,
Yes.
talk about basically your spirituality, talk about everything, so that you know that ukiingia hapa, you know this person and you know what you're getting yourself into, so that you don't get surprises ukiwa pale kwa marriage.
The Lord bless you for
Yeah.
listening, for watching, for viewing.
Yeah.
It's not about us, it's about God.
Yeah.
As we inspire,
encourage, and transform. Yeah.
Amen.
Amen. So guys, thank you for plugging in. See you next time for a new video, for a new live video. And I hope that this is blessing you. This is blessing you,
Yes.
you know.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.